Hello, class, and welcome to Lesson 18, which is entitled Personal Purity in Proverbs. So as was mentioned in the previous lesson, the book of Proverbs is full of wisdom. So it would be in our best interest to take to heart the things that it teaches. And in fact, that lesson's going to be stressed to us several times in the reading. So in the first section, we'll go over Proverbs chapter 4, verses 10 through 27. The Bible speaks about this wisdom, and once again, it urges of its importance. So the writer, who in this chapter is Solomon, urges his son to hear what he has to say and take hold of its lessons. So what we are reading here is a father giving advice to his son. So right now, you are all at a very young age in your life, and during this time, you're in the care of your parents, right? Now, sometimes they might tell you to follow rules which you may or may not understand the reasoning behind. And sometimes it's a lot more obvious than others, such as when your parents tell you to look both ways when you cross the street. I mean, they're simply just want you to be safe and avoid getting hurt. That's why they're giving you this advice, because they love you and they want what's best for you. And actually, a good parent does just that. They want what is best for their children. And this often comes in the form of giving advice. So that's what we have here. Solomon giving advice to his son. So even though these words were written for his son, we can very easily apply these to our lives. And in fact, that would be the purpose of this book's inclusion in his Bible, so that we can apply these words of wisdom to our lives. So when we read these words, you can think of it as God's advice for us as children. So chapter 4 goes on to stress that we keep our hearts away from the path of the wicked. In fact, the verse tells us to completely avoid it altogether. It's easier to avoid sin from the beginning than to get into sin and then to try and turn away from it later. Sin has a way of getting a grasp on you, and which can unfortunately be pretty difficult to escape if you aren't careful. So if you have any doubts onto why wickedness should be avoided, well, verses 16 through 19 give a pretty good reason. It goes on to say that those who are on the path of wickedness become committed to their sin. It becomes the focus of their life, so much that they're willing to sacrifice sleep, money, and anything else to do that sin. So it's like they become addicted. The path of wickedness is gloomy, dark, and dangerous, while on the other hand, the path of the just is bright. So the remainder of this chapter has Solomon once again asking his son to hear his words, keep them in his heart, and to continue staying on the right path. Now the next section, Proverbs chapter 6, verses 20 through 35, it goes over the perils of adultery. Now you're all at a very young age, and none of you are at an age when you'll be getting married anytime soon. But however, it's important to learn about this stuff now so that you will be better men and women when you grow up. So that's why we're going over this. Also, you might notice that this section specifically talks about a son and a warning against evil women, as it puts it. However, I know there's girls in this class, and these words, they apply just as much to you as it does to the boys in the class, because believe me, just as there are evil women out there are evil men out there too. So whether you are a boy or a girl, the idea that it's trying to warn you against here is adultery. So once again, it begins with Solomon pleading for his son to hear and follow wisdom. However, the specific thing that Solomon is warning against here is from an evil woman, or as we mentioned more generically, adultery. Now, adultery is when you are married, but then you decide to go be with someone else who is not your spouse. This also applies to being to a person who is not married, but they want to have a relationship with someone who is married. So God defined marriage as having one man and one woman. It didn't say anything about one man and then he has a wife and then a few other women that he is involved with, or a woman who has multiple men that she's involved with. No, it's one man and one woman. So when we stray from that, it can cause all sorts of damage. So verse 25 through the rest of the chapter warns against this damage. So even though the person, they might be very handsome, very beautiful, they might say all the right things and just know how to, make you feel attracted to them, don't fall into the trap. It's just like if you were to hold fire close to you, is there any way that you can hold it close to your chest and not get burned? No. Fire is hot, it burns. And just like this, adultery, it destroys. Um, Adultery has destroyed many marriages, families. It causes division, hatred, sadness, and pain. And it brings disgrace to you and the other person that's involved. It's not just something that people will forget. It's something that sticks with you for the rest of your life. Others will know about it. So it's definitely something you want to stay away from. And remember, it's not that you're just sinning against another person. You are sinning against God, as we talked about in one of our previous lessons. To put it as frankly as I can, there's nothing good that can come of adultery. So stay far away from it. Well, that wraps up this lesson. So read the reading, think about it, and please go over the questions and try to think about them and how they apply to your life. So that's it for this lesson. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you at the next lesson.